Hey friends, this is Betsy with the Wildly Seen, Totally Loved podcast. On this show, we talk to real people about what God is doing in the hard places of their life. We know these testimonies are going to encourage your faith, so we hope you enjoyed today's episode.
Big shout out to Top Hand RV Park in Albany, Texas for being a Season 3 sponsor of Wildly Seen, Totally Loved. Today's episode sponsor is Whitney Allenbaugh with Brandy Smith team at Remax Big Country. Whitney is a real estate agent serving Abilene and the Big Country area. But more than that, she's a wife to Logan, mama to her spirited 3-year-old daughter Layton, and a ranch hand girl at heart, raising sheep, goats, and cattle on her family land in Hamby, Texas. Whitney is a childhood leukemia survivor and carries a quiet strength into everything she does, from helping families find their home to mentoring new agents as they grow in the business. Whitney asked us to share this today. This season of life has felt like a wilderness season, full of challenge, but also full of growth. I'm so thankful for Betsy and Christina and the way they've created such a life-giving, God-giving space through this podcast. You can connect with Whitney at whitneyallenbaugh.com, on Facebook at Whitney Allenbaugh Realtor, the Brandy Smith team Remax Big Country, or by calling or texting her at 325-230-5806. Also, follow on Instagram at whitney.brandysmithsteam.com.
Hello, Wildly Seen and Totally Loved. You may not know me, but my name is Destiny, and this is the Spoken Roots Takeover. I'm taking over today. I host my own podcast, and we will get to me here in a second. But I am hosting your host today. So we have Betsy.
Yes, hello.
We have Christina.
Hello.
And they came to me and wanted to do like a reverse episode because, you know, they get to know the hearts of everyone. They want you to know their hearts. I was like, wait, what? My mind was not working.
Go? Yeah.
So here we are. I'm super excited. I've got some questions prepared for you guys, which...
Cool.
They are some of your questions, but I feel like that's what your people want to know. Like, how would Betsy and Christina answer those questions? So,
I love this, but I don't know what to do with my hands.
I know, right? Like, you have no notes.
Okay. I don't have a reason to, hide behind my notes.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
it is kind of interesting how comforting having my little notes here is. And I'm like,
feels a little bit more vulnerable.
Yes. I'm like, I kind of feel vulnerable.
All my guests have felt this way.
Mm-hmm. That's how I felt because, we did something like this on my podcast and I was like, okay.
But don't let me take over the conversation though, okay?
I brought my notes. You're fine. You're fine. It is your podcast. You're fine.
Christina's like, obviously you would. Throw me under the bus.
Because I love you.
I brought my very professional iPhone for my notes today because I was like, will I make it here without losing them? We'll see. First of all, I love this question that y'all always ask. I want to know about high school Betsy and Christina.
Oh,
Kick
you
it
first.
Off, Nina.
Me? You want me to go first?
No. Oh, I'll go first. High school senior Betsy was really ugly. And really nice. Like, I really, truly felt like I was called to be a light. And I tried really hard to really like people and be kind. Mm-hmm. And that led me to, this is a weird thing to say. It's almost a little bit like, I don't want to say this and sound braggy, but I say this because it'll point to the Lord in just a second. I was the class favorite, class president, homecoming queen, prom queen, and Miss JNHS all my senior year.
Okay, I feel that.
And I didn't feel that. You know what I mean? I was not, I didn't look the part. Yeah. I was not the most popular girl. Right. But I was the nicest. And I know, this is why I know that, because when we graduated, we got these books that had like senior, letters to your friends or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I had a guy in there that was not in the realm of my normal crowd. I would guess was an athlete a little bit, like whatever. I did all the things. I did ag. I did all the stuff. Mm-hmm. And he did not do any of those things, but he wrote in his letter, "Thank you so much for always saying hi to me in the hall." Mm. And like, that's who I knew that was who the Lord was calling me to be. Now I had things that I was not doing well. I was not perfect. I had some stumbling blocks and some crutches that I was using along the way. And the Lord would eventually prune all those out. But I don't know.
I completely understand what you're saying now because same. Not a gym ed, but same. And like at the time I was probably a little prideful about some of those things. Not in like a, oh, look at me, I'm so much better. But I was like, wow, people are recognizing these things in me. And then in high school, it's funny because I was told by so many people, and I'm glad that they told me this, and especially my parents, like high school, there's so many better moments in life coming, you know? And like, yes, this may feel good right now, but wait till I get married. It's the one thing that I've been most proud of up to this point in my life, you know, because I love my husband so much, but it's like, wait till you get married, wait till you have kids, and they're so right. Like those things are great, but any high school people listening to this, there are more things coming for you.
Yeah,
you know?
I have said that time and time again. Is there's so much. It's crazy how like what's the word I'm looking for? Like how just it feels like when you're in high school, it's so important.
Yes.
Like it is the most important part of your life when you're there, and you need to be seen, and you need to have friends, and you need for people to like you, and it's in the big picture of life. It is such a tiny portion of all the good things to come. And I wish that every high school boy and girl out there could grasp that. Yeah.
Because it is, and it's like there's a lot of emphasis put on that time of your life anyway. And you think like, oh, this is it. Like what I do now is it.
People ask me all the time, like, would you go back to high school and do it all over again? I had the best high school experience. I had the most coolest Christian community around us. Like I had great friends. I loved where I was at. I would never trade going to high school at Gym Ed, like in 19, whatever. No, that was 2005. But I laugh because people are like, would you go back to high school? Nope, sure wouldn't. Like I love life after high school. So I love that y'all said that. That's really good.
I absolutely love life after high school more than I did high school. Senior high school Christina was a lost and broken girl. Like it almost gives me anxiety to think back on high school Christina. I was in the wrong scenes. I was completely running from the Lord. I was seeking substances. I was seeking attention from men, boys, guys, I guess you could say.
They were boys.
Wherever I could get attention, that's where I would take attention. I hurt people. And it was, high school senior Christina was not healthy. Thankfully, the Lord redeemed and has come into my life and completely renewed whoever that was.
So what we were just talking about, that really does resonate with you of like life after high school can be completely different.
Absolutely. If you would have told high school Christina that this would be my life, I would have been like, you're out of your mind. There's no way. Like, or that the Lord can even like
do that,
redeem you and set you free. And like, I probably would have looked at you like you were crazy. Like that's not real. It's not real.
I love that though. And I've seen even, how old am I? 26. So I graduated almost 10 years ago now. I have seen friends who've had a transformation like that, I guess is the way to call it. And it's like, I love that for you. Like, I love seeing that. So that's just cool. That kind of gives me chills. That's cool. It's great. My follow-up question to that was, what would you go back and tell that version of yourself? Like, what did you need to hear?
I needed to hear that, I don't know, that there's life beyond this, that you're an overcomer through the power of Jesus, and you're going to meet him one day. Yeah. And he's going to wreck your world.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's good.
That's what I needed somebody to tell me.
That's good.
I needed reassurance in not pleasing people. I pleased people for probably the first, even when I first got married, I even tried to please Luke and do all the things right. And really just growing up in that and really realizing like, this is not about anybody else but me and the Lord. And I got to be
the same person. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, that's what I needed too.
So I call myself a recovering people pleaser. And I don't fall into that too much anymore. Really, it doesn't.
No.
Every now and then it'll rise up, and I'll be like, "Well, what am I trying to do there?" But I feel like I've grown a lot in that, and I'm thankful for that growth.
I think you've helped me grow in that, like not to be a people pleaser.
Yeah, it's liberating getting rid of some of that, and don't get me wrong, I still fall into that trap.
I think we all can.
Oh yeah,
and but it is liberating. It's the only word that I can think of. When you finally learn to say the word no, it's a really powerful 2-letter word.
Yes, it is.
And when you learn to use it correctly, it feels really good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I like it. Okay, I just want to hear like your recap of yourself, of how you came to know the Lord.
Okay,
me first. Go for it. Well, really long story, kind of short.
As short as I can get
it. I was in a broken marriage. I was a broken mom. I was everything I really didn't want to be. My marriage was, it was divorce time. Like it was terrible. And I told my husband, we can go to church on Sunday morning, or we can get a divorce on Monday. And we went to church that next morning, or on Sunday morning. And it was even a while after that. Like I remember asking my husband after church, for weeks, you think we're going to come back next week? Do you think we're going to come back next week? And finally he said, stop asking. We're gonna keep going.
Yeah.
And I think I just like hoped and longed for what this could potentially bring. So then we started this journey. He was working out of town a lot at that time, and there were Wednesday nights at church. And I thought, you know what? If I'm really gonna do this thing, I need to go on Wednesday nights. I need to go connect. I need to, So I would go on Wednesday nights. Corey had quit drinking like shortly afterwards. And then about a year in, I had a friend ask me to go on a walk to Emmaus. And it was weird to me. I was like, I don't even know what this is. I'll
barely
go.
Going to church.
And she had actually asked my husband to go on one the month before me. So he goes on one. I see it change him. Like he comes home this whole new man, and I'm like, okay, I can do this. So I was very, I was skeptical going in, like, I don't really know. Sure, this is weird, but I'll go. And it took a hot minute, but the Lord met me there like I had never been met by him before. And I can literally remember the moment that chains begin to break in a prayer. I begin to see the evidence of the Lord just in him having me at that walk, and like little things that were connecting that made him seem so much more real to me, that I was like, oh, okay, this is real.
Yeah.
I did just get saved by a Jesus, and he is going to meet with me. And it was at that moment that my faith took a whole turnaround. And the very next weekend after I came home from my walk, I went to a party with old friends, and literally the Holy Spirit said, what are you doing? This is not who you are anymore. And it was from that moment that life began to change. I knew conviction. I understood conviction. I started feeling conviction. And little by little, day by day, moment by moment, for the last 10 years, he has just redeemed my life.
Love that.
Yeah.
And I have to make note of this, because a lot of that pruning and growing process was because you sat down every morning with your prayer journal and with your Bible, and you met with the Lord and allowed him space in your heart to take the gross stuff. Because there was stuff in there still. Like, it wasn't like you just, over 10 years, it was just good. Like, it wasn't good because you still had these kids and this husband and this job and this, I mean, it was people and drama and family.
That's a good point. It's not just like, okay, I'm trying to think of how to articulate this, because yes, there's work to be done between you and Jesus, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like there's that relationship, but then it's all that you just said. Mm-hmm. You have all these other earthly relationships that also need tended to while you're doing this.
Yes. And she had to start with meeting with Jesus to be able to say, I'm going to love my husband today when he's a jerk. Or I'm going to lead my girls differently because I know now, like, I want to lead them this way, not the way that I lived or whatever.
And I'm glad you said that, because I don't want to make that sound like, oh, she gave her life to Jesus and then everything was beautiful and it was easy. Let me tell you, it was hard, and I still have to choose Jesus.
Yes.
And I still have to choose to step in obedience. And even through the hard, and even through hard people and relationships, like, I had to seek the Lord in all of that. And there have been moments of crying out to the Lord. There have been moments of hard conversations with the Lord, hard conversations with people. I have lost relationships with people. He has pruned and pruned and pruned, and pruning is not easy. So it was not easy.
Yeah.
But it has been life-giving.
And worth it. 100%.
I wouldn't go back. There is still a way. I wouldn't go back to high school. Never, ever would I go back there.
It's your nightmare to go back to
yes, it is. So yeah, that was where my faith journey began.
And it's another, like what you're saying is important, of it does take work, like,
absolutely.
And it's worth it. It's so worth it. Like, don't get me wrong, but just like any other relationship, there is work involved. Like, you do have to be in the Word every day. You do have to literally put in the work if you ever want to see any sort of growth there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's important.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, remind me the question.
Just you.
I don't have it in front
recap.
of me. My recap of my faith. So I got saved when I was like 11 or 12 because I was like scared to death to go to hell. Just scared out of my mind. I don't remember why I felt that anxious about it, but I just knew that hell was not a place I wanted to be. And so I remember meeting my mom in my kitchen, and just like haphazardly, we kind of navigated like, okay, well, let's just pray this little prayer that I'm sure she had heard all her life. And, so we did, and I go to bed that night, and I felt like, okay, that's a load off. But that was kind of it. And then nothing really changed in my life from there, because we didn't really go to church, and it was just really hard to navigate, like, what does it look like to be a believer? Because I knew my parents knew about God, and I knew that they had kind of grown up going to church, so they knew the stuff, the church side of it. But then for me, it was like I was at, there was a youth pastor that kind of hunted me down, Diane Walker, shout out to her. And she made sure I was at the things, and really invited me in and like pursued me. And so I went to a youth event at the church one night in Lawn, America, and I don't even know. I think it was in worship. I don't even think it was really, I don't know who the speaker was. I don't know. I just remember this moment where we're singing this song. It was about being a light, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. This is who you're called to be. You are called to be a light. And so from that moment on, freshman year, I knew I was called to ministry. Like, it was not just like, you're called to be a light in the world, like real vague. It was like, you're called to ministry. And I didn't even know what that looked like. For me, ministry looked like going to Africa, and that scared the heck out of me. I was like, I'm not going to Africa. Like, I live in Lawn, America, And so high school, like I said, I had some stumbling blocks and some struggles, and like probably sought attention from boys and whatever. But at the end of the day, like, I lived a pretty decent life through high school, and then college hit, and some things happened that were hard. And it made me realize, like, do I really believe this? I even had a college professor question, like, she was like, the Bible isn't real because X, Y, and Z. I mean, like, just flat out said, God's not real. And I was like, what? Like, I have lived in Lawn and gone to the Baptist church my whole life, and that's not what they said, and you're wrong. But I didn't know how to defend my faith. And so it became this thing of like, I've got to figure this out for myself. I've got to know that I know what I know is true, and really believe this and walk this out. And I can't just hope somebody's going to agree with me. Like, I have to be ready to defend it. And so that really pushed me into a season of like digging into scripture in a new way. And I remember just meeting with the Lord in scripture in the sweetest moments. And so my college Bible, I still have it, but it's all marked up. And that was one of the sweetest seasons of growth. And some of the scripture that I highlighted and read, like those are the ones that are like rooted in my heart, that when I have struggles or troubles, or I think, man, Lord, what scripture would go with that? Those are the ones that come to mind, you know? And so that was a really cool season because it was just me and the Lord. Mm-hmm. And so I would say that was when my faith, like when I really wanted to own it. And like I knew I was called and I knew I wanted it and I knew I wanted to serve the Lord in high school, but that's kind of hard to navigate, like how to walk that out. So I did it the best I could, but it was college when I was like, this is who I am.
That's a fantastic point of when you do leave home or high school or whatever that looks like for you, wherever that's at, you are faced with all kinds of people that are, especially this disclaimer, small town.
Yeah.
When you step out of the small town where everybody's kind of the same, it can be shocking to see things that you're not used to, or hear things that you don't normally hear, and cope with that, or learn how to say, okay, no, this is what I know to be true. And again, not be in the world, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember feeling that in college too. I would go home, and of course I lived home and commuted, so I still saw my parents all the time. But I was like,
I did too. I lived at home and commuted.
I know. This is crazy.
This is crazy.
But I just remember telling my parents, I'm like, you will never guess what I saw today or what I heard today. And they're like, okay, but that's not us. That's not you. That's just ignore it. And you kind of do have to at some point. And then I see the flip side of that of, okay, there are people different from me. I need to listen and reason with them. You know, you can't just completely shut off.
Yeah.
There's a balance there.
Yeah.
But that's good.
Yeah. All right. Oh, my next favorite question. I love when y'all ask this. Let's talk about wilderness seasons. First of all, when y'all were planning this, how did that become a question? Because I love that question. It's a great way to describe it.
Thank you for asking that question. It's a really good one. The whole heart behind this, and we haven't touched on this probably since like the very beginning episode. Like we've kind of weaved it in here and there. But I was reading scripture, and it was I don't even know where it's at now. I don't have my Bible right by me. 6:13.
6:13. Yeah.
And so it's Hagar in the wilderness. And so Abraham and Sarah is stupid, and she's like, you should have a baby with my servant. That'll make things so easy. Okay, that's not a good plan.
That's not
Sarah.
the solution.
Not a good plan. So let's throw some sin in there and see if it helps it out. And so anyways, they banish Hagar from the land, and she goes and finds herself in the wilderness. And so I just had this moment with the Lord where I was like, I cannot imagine a woman that would be any lower than her, pregnant, alone in the desert, in the literal desert. Like, and so my favorite part of the whole story is where God just meets her, and she goes, I have now seen the one who sees me. You are the God who sees me. That's what she calls him, which told me the name because I haven't read it lately. She says, you are, it's right on the tip of my tongue. I'm so sorry.
6:13.
Yeah. But she says, I have now seen the one who sees me. And then she calls him a name. She says, anyways.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
I should have refreshed my memory on it, but
you're fine.
Mom brain. And we've already recorded another episode today, so it's a little, while Christina's looking that up.
Yeah.
So I just kind of sat on that. And really the Lord, when we started weaving this podcast together and he was opening doors for it, it was just very clear that we are in whatever wilderness we're in, we are wildly seen and we are totally loved by the God who sees us right where we're at. Yeah. And so it's just a beautiful picture to think about.
It is. And that's one of my favorite parts in Genesis, actually. So I love that.
I'm not shocked.
I know.
This is crazy that we forgot the verse, but that's not it. That's the story of Noah. 6:13 is the story of Noah.
It's 26:13.
26:13. I'm like,
I'm sorry. We got to edit all of this, Darren.
I knew there were 6. I knew there was a 6 and a 3, and I'm like,
That's
okay.
No,
Anyways,
it's all good.
Yeah.
We do not claim to know all the things or be perfect. So
yes.
We're not pleasing people anyways, right?
Yes,
right. Exactly. Okay. 26:3. Nope. Yep. That's not it either. We can
26:13. But we're going to move on.
Yeah,
we're going to find it. We're going to link it in the show notes.
In Genesis.
It is somewhere in there. When it talks about Hagar, it's in there.
It's in the Bible, y'all.
So, and then that leads us into our wilderness season. So this is me trying not to take over. So Nina, you jump in there. I I knew I would do it at least once.
Are we talking about wilderness season?
Yes.
We're okay.
Give me a wilderness
I've really been praying on this because I'm like, I've talked about my marriage enough. Like that was a wilderness season.
Which it's totally amazing right now, by the way.
It is. Mm-hmm. It's so good right now. It's the best it's ever been. Awesome. In fact, my husband's going to like probably be like, why would you say that? But listen, we were laying on the couch the other night. We just recently went through a group marriage counseling. And it's been so life-giving. The way that the Lord led us there was through this huge fight that we did not know. It was over something dumb, but we got in this huge fight and it was like, what are we doing? Anyways, we ended up at this group counseling, marriage counseling. So we've been going through this since September. And it's just been so life-giving. And we were laying on the couch. We're almost to the end of it. We were laying on the couch the other day. He was laying, I was sitting, and he's looking up at me and he's staring at me. And I'm like, why are you looking at me?
What are you looking at?
I'm like, what? And he's like, what? And I'm like, why are you looking at me? That's weird. Because I'm a jerk. And he's like, you know what? Fine. Well, he has like tears in his eyes. And I'm just like, no, what? And he's like, I just love you. And I'm like, I love you too. Mm-hmm. Like, and he said, for real, like that's a deep in my heart. Like, I love you.
That makes my heart want to just bust open.
Thank you. Sweet. I needed, like, I knew that you did, but just for you to sit here and say that, like, it was sweet. Mm-hmm. And yes, our marriage has been a wilderness season that the Lord has seen us and brought us through, but I've talked about that a lot. Yeah. So I'm going to say, like, after I had quit my job at Resource Care, I was there for 18 years and I found my identity in that. I ended up like, who am I? What am I doing? What is this? And I found myself depressed, and it was hard for me to get out of bed. And I had this beautiful life. Like there was no reason for me to be depressed, but I can look back now and be like, that was depression. Like it was rough. It was dark. And me and Betsy had talked. We have this thing of like, speak out anything, in all your thoughts not all your thoughts, but speak out things into light from darkness. They're like lies from the enemy. Mm-hmm. So I had spoken some stuff out to her, and she told me that maybe I should see like a therapist. And I'm like, you know what? That's probably not a bad idea. So finally I step into some obedience and started seeing a therapist and went to her for like a year. And I had so much within me from childhood to bad decisions that I made coming into adulthood, and life that I had lived and insecurities within myself that just made me still, even after like knowing the Lord and being set free, that I was still like bitter towards myself and didn't really like myself. And I went through therapy, and I was there for a year, and she literally helped me walk through releasing all of that and just seeing myself for who the Lord's created me to be. And he met me. He orchestrated that. And I can look back now and see like, okay, this is why you were calling me to quit my job. Like, I'm sure there's more now too, but like, you knew that there was that this was a distraction, and there was still some things that I needed to heal from, that you needed my full attention for. And so, he seen me through that, brought me through that, and has loved me into just learning to love myself. So I think we all have. Season sponsor, Top Hand RV Park, proudly lays claim to the quietest RV park in Albany, Texas. Nestled in a quaint residential neighborhood and conveniently located within walking distance to the city pool and swimming pool for the littles. Overnight and long-term full-service hookups with military and first responder discounts available. For more information, visit their website at tophandrvpark.com. Thanks again to Top Hand RV Park for sponsoring this season. Now back to the show.
At some point, the learning to love yourself thing. Yeah, like, Yeah.
I love that.
I do
you shared
too.
That one. Like, so not long ago, we did a little women's retreat, but it was love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul, with all your strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. And we talked about like we have to love ourselves, and we're really not good at that.
Yes.
And I love you as my best friend. You're so precious, and I can't imagine you not loving yourself. And I'm so thankful that you see who you are, because you're such a gift to the world.
Thank you.
That's so sweet, too. I'm like, oh, that's so cute. It is a lot easier to give love to someone else.
Yes, it is.
Than back to yourself. I've learned that in adulthood. It's like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's hear your answer.
I don't think I've ever really shared this part. And so I don't know. We've said this before, like what wilderness season? Because there have been wilderness seasons all along. Like, you go way back early on. But I feel like the one that I would like to touch on the most would just be my marriage, because I'm married to a pastor. So it should just be good, right? Like it should just be a good marriage. And I knew the Lord. This was interesting too, because I knew when I guess 6 months prior to meeting my husband, I said, Lord, I'm done. I'm done dating. And whenever you open my eyes to see him, then I'll potentially date somebody. But until then, I'm not dating. And so I was very closed off to guys at that point, and I really just focused on the Lord. And I just spent about 6 months of just getting healthy within myself and like with the Lord. And then I met Luke, and I was not interested. I wore a ponytail and sweats. I think we talked about this the other day. And, it was just not something that I was pursuing at all, and not something he was pursuing. And then I mean it when I say, like, the Lord literally opened my eyes to him, and he made me laugh. And that was something that, I dated a guy one time that I think I'm semi-funny. Pretty funny. And I would crack a joke, and this guy would just look at me. And I was like,
oh, that'd be an immediate no from me.
Like, what?
You better laugh at everything that I say. Like,
I know.
I'd be so offended.
Right? So it just over time kind of beat me down a little bit, and I didn't realize it. And then when Luke made me laugh, I was like, oh, he sees me.
Yeah.
Like he appreciates who I am and thinks I have value to the conversation. Yes. Like I'm not just in his world. Like he's, so that's really what drew me to him. I don't think I've ever told him that. Then so really fast we start dating. I tell him, I kind of try to scare him off. I'm like, he asked me on a date, and I said, you go home and pray about it. Because I'm thinking in my head, like, this will scare him and I'm done. Yeah. And I don't have to mess with this. Because even though I think, yes, this might be right, I don't want my flesh to get in the way. I'm out. Like, I was just kind of put a wall up. And I went home and I prayed about it. And I remember the Lord just like over and over. I had my Bible open and I was like, Lord, please tell me if this is okay. Please tell me if this is okay, because I don't want this if this is not from you. Just really repetitive. And the Lord said, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And it was not like, it's okay, it's going to be mediocre. It was like,
it's okay, I guess.
It's okay to breathe. It's okay to trust me with this. And so we dated for 6 months, and Luke very randomly decided he was going to propose to me. Like, I'm not going to tell it. Okay, bless him. He didn't have a ring, but he asked me to marry him. And I said yes. Like I knew that it was from the Lord. And then we get married within a year. So we really didn't know each other that well. We didn't even really know who we were yet, Yeah. But we knew it was from the Lord, and he did too. And he had grown his faith to a point where he knew it was right. So we get married, and 6 months in, it was just like the new wore off, and we were living these separate lives in the same house. And I was coaching full time, gone all the time, coming in late, did not know how to take care of a house, had laundry like everywhere, dishes everywhere, couldn't cook, didn't take care of Luke at all. Like he was farming, running cattle, like all over the place. We just didn't communicate. And then the new wore off, and it was like, oh crap. Like, so he came in one night and just said, like, I don't know if I ever should have gotten married. And for me, that was like personal to me. Like it was against me. But for him, he was just saying, I think I could have been a cowboy in the middle of a field by myself my whole life, you know? And it broke me. But at the same time, like I remember the next day, maybe not, I don't know when it all happened, but I remember crying out to the Lord in my living room of that first house we lived in, and just screaming at the Lord saying, you promised me this was okay. And this is not okay. Yeah. And, he just met me in it, and just I just felt his presence. It was nothing profound. It didn't fix everything,
Yeah.
But it began the journey of like really figuring out, like, are we going to stick this out?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that night that he had said, I don't know if I should have gotten married, I went to a friend's house close by, and I just sat in her bed, and she let me sit and cry. Her and her husband were like precious examples of the Lord and just loved us really well during that season. And so the Lord had placed us very intentionally where we were to have help, because I think that night I also called my dad. I didn't want this to go that long, actually. I'm sorry. But I called my dad because I knew if I called my mom, she would have said, come home, baby, you know? And my dad was like, I said, I don't know what to do. And he said, you go home and you figure it out.
Yeah.
And I was like, I needed my daddy to tell me that, you know?
Yeah.
And then Luke ended up calling his dad, and his dad said, well, I don't know, but you're not coming here, you know? And so that was just, I think that was the Lord's favor, you know?
Yeah.
Like, because had we had an out, we would have taken it. Mm. And so over the years, this is my favorite part of the story, but I mean, it took 4 years to even get healthy, and we were working on it. It was just not beautiful or pretty. And so, you know, in time, Luke went on a men's retreat. And this is what I love about the Lord, is that he's so faithful to finish things that we don't even recognize. Like, I was very hurt by what he told me about not wanting to be married. I really took that personal. And then he went on a men's retreat. He came back home that day and he said, I need to tell you something. When we, you know, early on in our marriage, I said to you, I don't think I could be married, but the Lord knew what he was doing and I needed you. And like, I didn't mean that towards you. He said this, I didn't mean that towards you. I just thought I needed to be alone. And that's a lie. And I was like, the Lord took that hurt from me and allowed me to trust him again, like to trust Luke again, which is a game changer for a marriage, to be able to trust your husband, you know? And so from that point on, we really just had a fast track of like learning and growing, and it was good. And honestly, I look back now and think of that moment in the living room, and I'm like, oh, Lord, this is what you were promising me.
Yeah.
This is it.
Like
and
that
so,
led to
this.
everything. Yeah.
And I love that you said that the Lord strategically placed y'all in a group of people who led you. And same.
Yeah.
Like the Lord strategically placed us in y'all's lives, because
for us and y'all.
Y'all have walked with us through some really rough times. And I should probably like say, I'm sorry that we put y'all in some of the situations that we put y'all in. But y'all were very, and this is just important for any married people who are friends and like just having your community and everything, of like, y'all were just very quick to always lead us to the Lord and back to one another. Like you never, like it was never, oh, well, yeah. You know, like, you be mad at him and he shouldn't have done that. Like, it was like, you know.
I'm pretty sure I almost made you mad a couple times, because I would like say, well, listen, in Corey's defense, you gotta,
like,
exactly.
And you would want her to be like, no, side with me. Yes, Christina.
And there were times where she would say, I'm Team Christina. However,
but
listen.
That is so important, though.
It is so important to have those people in your life. And it's cool how the Lord strategically places you, because we could have went to another church on that Sunday when I said we're going to church the next morning. I did let him pick the church. So
that's cool.
You know, it's cool how the Lord orchestrates that.
Well, I'll say this too. In the early part of our struggles, like we were going to Bethel and Anson, and so we got connected there too in the church, and the church community was massive. We had like crazy cool marriage stories all around us. So we were seeing really healthy relationships, and we were in small groups with these older people that were couples that had made it through all these things. And it was a really beautiful thing. And I remember one time calling Jennifer Cochran and wanting to complain about my marriage and my husband, and just really putting all of that on him. And she told me, she was like, well, have you thought about serving him? And I'm like, she said, all of that sounds like a lot of eyes. And I mean, that's not an easy thing to say to someone, but I was so thankful. I got off the phone and I was like, that is not what I thought she was going to say, but oh my goodness, I am so glad she told me that. And then I started trying to serve him. Like, and that anyways, and she did it in such a loving way, but I made it sound very harsh, but I was very thankful for those moments. And I think that's why I was able to kind of do the same with Christina when the opportunity arose, because I knew it was like, it's two things, truth and not about us.
Yep.
Like,
right.
It's got to be Jesus and it's not about me, you know?
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic though. Good counsel is important wherever it comes from, whether it's, you know, like y'all's situation is so cool. I love that y'all are besties. That's so cute. But, I recently, and I won't mention names because I don't know if they want the names on there, but a fellow student of mine was having issues with her fiance, and she went to counsel at the hospital, which we were sitting there as just another tech, and she was wanting us all to like be on her side and like ride or die for her. And I was so proud of that tech that like answered her, because it was all kind of the same thing of brutal honesty. Like it's gonna suck. Like I know that you want me to say A, but I'm gonna say B because it's a lot better for you. And it's what you need to hear. And you may leave and you may go cry and you may be really mad at me, but you need it. And she did. She left and she was very upset, but she later was like, no, you're right. You know,
usually after you process those things, you come back around to
exactly.
Oh, okay.
And that's so important. And especially like modern day culture, I feel like, is just the gossip, and girls want to gripe and gripe and gripe and gripe, and it can be easy to fall into that and be like, oh yeah, whatever. And not saying that you can't vent, but there's a difference where it's like, hey.
And there's also a time where venting can become unhealthy. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like it's a double-edged sword. Like
for sure.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic points. Thank you, ladies, for sharing your wilderness seasons. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. You talked about how you knew that you were supposed to be in ministry, right? And this is for both of you, because this is a type of ministry, what y'all are doing right here. And you do ministry in your own church and even in your own homes. That's the other thing, listeners, ministry is everywhere. Like it can be done at home.
Preach that.
Absolutely. It can be done at home.
I used to think the same thing. I thought a mission trip or whatever.
You're like, shoot,
you had
Africa's
to
on the list.
Jump the pond to go make a difference. And don't get me wrong, huge mission trips like that are great and impactful, but there is ministry to be done all around you right here.
That's true.
Don't have to travel. So if you were not doing this type of ministry like we're doing right now, what would you want to be doing?
Nothing. This right now. I really, truly feel like somebody asked me the other day, it was my sister-in-law. She said, if you were going to go back to work, like, what would you do? And no joke, 6 months ago, I would have said teaching and coaching selfishly. Like, I loved that and I used that as a ministry and all the things, but it was very hard for me to give up because I had also made it an idol. Yeah.
Real talk.
And so stripping all that down and like really getting to the core of like what we do here.
Yeah.
This is coaching. This is ministry.
Yeah.
This is my giftings. This is a gift from the Lord, and I don't want to be anywhere else. And when he stops this, I'm sure there'll be something else he has in store, and I'll be open to whatever. But as long as he'll let me do this, I'll do it.
I love that.
I would say, and I feel like this does fulfill the ministry that I think I would be doing if I wasn't here, just maybe in a different way, is I just have such a heart for broken women to come to know the Lord because of what he's done in my life and how he's, loved me. And I just want other women to see it and grasp it. And I don't even know like how I would do that or where I would do that.
But that's where you would feel led.
My heart is for other women, and just maybe not even women, like just people in general, anybody, especially these upcoming 20-year-olds, like the ones that are coming into their very young adulthood, to just know the Lord. Like that, I have a passion for that, and I feel like we're doing that here. So I would probably just try to find some other way to do that. I don't even know what that would look like.
That's okay. And I like that you say it wouldn't have to be just women, because a big part of your wilderness story, like with your marriage, like your husband was there too. Like it's not just a woman thing.
No. I love it.
Okay,
that's good.
That's good stuff. Let's see, where am I at? Okay. I love that y'all do this together. I myself fly solo, and there's good parts of flying solo too, but it's a grind. So I love that you do this together. What's your favorite characteristic about, like, what's your favorite thing about Betsy? What's your favorite thing about Christina?
So good. You go ahead. No, I got to think for a second. There's so many. Like, the fact that I can call and tell you the worst of my worst and not feel any judgment, and you point me straight to the truth. It just, who the Lord has made you to be, like, is the sweetest gift to me and my family. And I've said it 1,000 times. So I don't know that I could just say one thing, but I'll say the one thing that serves me the most in these roles is your administrative, like, organizational, like, assertiveness. You're so gifted at all those things. And it helps me because I'm a scatterbrain. And that probably is the least favorite thing that you like in working with me, but you're really good at it. So
they balance each other out.
We do balance each other out in that. And like, even today when I was thinking about all like Destiny coming and the other meeting and where we were at, I'm like, stressed me out a little bit. Like, we're off schedule here, and I need to get back on schedule. But however,
just roll with it.
Yes, the Lord, like, all of everything that happened and while we were off schedule was totally the Lord, and it needed to be, and it was great. However, I need Betsy to help me, like, not like loosen up,
which is kind of, Luke would laugh that that's what I bring to the table because he feels like I need to loosen up.
You're pretty loose. You're pretty go with the flow, but
in housework, but not in like the thing. Like, I still worry and stress, you know.
So
that's probably where he thinks I need to calm down.
We can worry and stress with the best of them. That's
can.
for sure. But hey, at least we can like speak it out and talk some.
Yeah, I think we've grown in that too a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Also, another trait about Betsy that I what is the definition of loath? Is that like where like what?
Loathe?
Is that where like you
loathe?
Yeah, loathe.
Yeah. Loathe is like
hate.
No, okay.
I'm like, where are we going? Dude,
I was like, whoa.
Like, what?
Okay,
did you hear who I was in high school? Like, I don't loathe people.
Loathe people.
Christina?
Okay, that's not the word I was looking for. I need better vocabulary. But love to hate about Betsy. This is what I love to hate about Betsy.
I'm so scared about what you're about to say.
She pushes people out of their comfort zones.
Oh, okay, that's a good one.
She does it so nonchalantly.
Yeah.
Like, hey, so I
always give you an out though. I'm always like, you can say no.
Listen. Pray
I
about
wouldn't,
it.
but you can.
Pray about it, and just you don't have to answer me right now. Just let me know, because the Lord, He told me.
I have never said that to you.
She hasn't. I'm kidding, but like. But
just putting this opportunity out there.
Like, I see your gifts, and you would be so good at this. And so,
like, where it's hard to say no.
I just know that you would. That this was would be so good. You would be so good in this spot. You know, just pray on it. Let me know. And you're like.
And now you're hosting.
Yeah, exactly. And she does that to like many people. But it's
I
good.
literally did it this morning on the way to town.
Yes, you did. It's like, to somebody else.
You can say no to me. I'm the easiest person to say no to. That's what I told him.
I will say that. You are easy to say
I'm
no
not
to.
going to get mad at you if you say no.
If I ever feel like I need to say no, I can say no.
Sure.
A lot of times it's like, and I know this is true with other people that she's done it to too, because they'll say like, and I'd like been praying to the Lord, like, you know, make me step out of my comfort zone, or where do you want me, or where can I tell this story, or what can I? And then Betsy
insert
comes along.
Betsy.
Yeah, like, insert Betsy. Like,
the Lord just shows me. So
throw you out of that comfort zone. So, but I will say I have grown by stepping out of my comfort zone in ways that Betsy has asked me to step out of my comfort zone.
Also, one of Christina's greatest gifts is her prayers, because they're so authentic. They're so real. They come straight from just her connection with the Lord. So it's not like this fancy thing. It's not like this routine, systematic thing. It's just like, I knew she met with the Lord this morning and had already covered me in prayer. But when she just prayed over me, she knew exactly where I was at. Like, she's just very in tune with the Lord and so precious when she prays over people. I think it is truly one of her spiritual gifts is prayer.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
And right back at you. And the crazy thing is the enemy, he really frustrates me. Like, that is one of the things that he tells me I'm really not good at.
Liar.
Really?
Yeah.
He's a holy liar. Cow.
Yeah, absolutely. I can get in my head about, like, Luke also likes to make us step out of our comfort zone and pray out loud in settings.
Power couple over here.
with lots of people in the room. Like, it's like every time I just get so anxious and nervous, and I've prayed out loud many times. Like, but every time it's like, oh, this is gonna be terrible. You're just gonna repeat yourself. Like, I'll get done and it'll be like, oh, that was bad. Like, and it probably, like, most of the time I don't even know, like, what I come out
like
with is probably out. From the Holy. Yeah, I blacked out. Like, yeah, it was the Spirit. Anyways, so thank you for that. But it's crazy how the enemy can just take a gift and turn it in your mind to something that make you think you're not good at,
and runs with it in a way that is just, it's hard to identify if you don't know the Lord.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too, is he's really good at his job. Like, it's very clear that he is cunning with the best of them and beautiful. So it makes it appear, oh, maybe this isn't so dangerous, or oh, maybe there is some truth to that, or it's very tricky.
It is.
It is. It's a good point. Oh, I loved that. I loved hearing about that. We had a vocabulary lesson.
I know, so good. It's all the things.
You know where I got it from too? Where the loath word was the Grinch.
Oh yes. Hate, loathe. Yes.
I should have known.
Now you're living in the Whoville world, talking all crazy.
That is hilarious. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. You are both mothers, girl moms, across the board here too. Yep. So this is kind of personal, but not because I don't have kids, but I'm in a season where all my friends are having babies and they're young and they're babies, toddlers, and all the things. So what is y'all's secret sauce? Like, what do you think helps create little tiny followers of Jesus and not tiny Pharisees? Maury said that the other day.
Love it.
Go listen to Maury Smith. I loved our episode. But
yes.
What is your secret sauce in motherhood? Like, what do you think contributed to your little tiny followers of Jesus?
You go.
Relationship with Jesus.
That's it.
And relationship with them. I'm not always right.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to acknowledge that as a parent,
especially a teen parent. I would say,
especially a teen, especially a teen parent. You've trained them well in their younger years. Like you've disciplined, and when they begin to become their own person and in their own identity, yes, they're gonna fail. Yes, they're gonna be jerks. Yes, they're gonna be wrong. But so am I.
Yeah.
And I just think it's important to have an open relationship with them where they feel comfortable enough to come to you. I mean, obviously don't let them run all over you, but because they will. Boundaries there. But to let them be able to say, well, Mom, this is kind of where I feel like you were wrong. And they'll train you up real good too. So they'll make you check your heart with Jesus, especially if they have a relationship with the Lord and they're like, that was not Christ-like. Like that's kind of ugly hearted of you. And so that's probably my Jesus is my secret sauce there.
But Christina has done a really cool job. I've gotten to watch this in the last few years of taking her teenage girls and like telling them, this is how you would do this if this is your own faith. And then you do it. Like, so she has done a really cool thing with like giving them the tools they need, encouraging them to use them, and covering the heck out of them with prayer in the meantime. And they have each picked up their own faith. In fact, one of her daughters was in the youth with me last night, and she said, I haven't told you this yet. She said, we were talking about Elijah and Elisha and like who's gone before you to lay a foundation of your faith. And I said, who would be like your spiritual mother or father, you know, or somebody that's poured into your life? And we went around the room and a few people said, you know, it was mostly like peers or youth leaders or whatever. And she goes, my mom. And I said, why? And she said, because I've seen what the Lord has done in her life. And for her to number one, I know, for her to number one, open her mouth and say that in front of a group.
That's big for her.
For her to even have her own faith to know, like, I need this. But it was because she saw you. She saw you like in the hard, and then she saw the Lord redeem it. And then she saw you give her that same faith, like hand it to her and say, now it's your turn. And she got it. And you've prayed for that all year for her.
I have.
So I know, not even just a year longer, but
yeah,
that's
but real
so cool.
intentional and real, almost crying out to the Lord of like prayers over her to have her own faith, to desire relationship with the Lord and know what that is. That's very heartwarming. That thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
And I have seen her, like she went through a little bit of a battle mentally and just in her identity and fixing to graduate high school and what am I going to do with my life and who am I? And I was very intentional about leading her to the Lord and saying like, why don't you start with the word? Why don't you start with the devotional? Like, try that. And slowly but surely, like I didn't pressure it, but she went and bought her own Bible. She went and found a devotional. She started digging in the mornings, and I have seen the Lord just slowly but surely meet her in this season of life and her begin to blossom. And it's so cool. So thank you for sharing that. Because
that is awesome.
Yeah. I meant to tell you that earlier. I don't know why I didn't tell you till now, but
that's really cool.
There you go. Yeah, for me, I mean, I started with the girls when they were little, and Luke was great in helping me lead them that way. Like with Maggie, he read the Bible. It's called the Complete Illustrated Bible or something like that. We can link it later, but the stories in there are so cool. They're written in such a different way where it's just very different. It's not a little story. Yeah. It's more like, this is real and this is what happened. It's very matter of fact, but appropriate for kids. So she has read the Bible like 6 times in her life because through the stories, like they started at the beginning and read the entire Bible, and they've done that 6 times. So she has a really cool knowledge of stories of the Bible. Like it's pretty cool to see. And then Ren, second kid, we weren't as intentional. Like, and so hers has come a little differently, and we've amped it up lately, and she's starting to catch on too. And so she also learns differently than Maggie. So it's interesting having 2 different, styles of kiddos. But I don't know. I feel like just talking about Jesus in conversation has probably been my biggest go-to, because I don't want it to just be like, well, we're preachers. So, or, mom does ministry and dad's a preacher. So that's what we do. We just go to church on Sunday. Like, I want them to know that like we have to meet with the Lord, or we're ugly, or like, man, my heart's ugly right now, and I have some sin in me, and this is my flesh. And so I don't know, just trying to talk to them about that at their level. And that looks different when you have a 6-year-old and an 11-year-old, and it changes. Like, I think I've looked to Christina a lot as Maggie gets older, just wanting to lead her well. And there's things that I want to work on right now with her that I'm not doing as much as I want to do. So I think there's always room to grow. I would never sit here and say I know the secret sauce about anything. But it kind of goes back to like when Jesus is what drives you and what breaks you and what carries you and what grows you, like it has to trickle down. And so it has to start there. I don't want her to know about Jesus just because that's really what we do in the Bible Belt and it's a small town and she better go to church. Like, I want her to know about Jesus because he met me in my living room when my marriage sucked. And I didn't have anything else but this empty living room and the Lord, Yeah. So I think those moments change how you raise kids.
And I think it's so important. And I think this is the line between potential Pharisee or follower of Jesus is are you leading by example? Like, are you walking it out and leading by example? Or are you just saying, here's the rules, follow them. Yeah. Do as I say, not as I do.
Yep. I had a friend on the podcast not too long ago, and I asked him kind of the same question of any of my friends that are parents, I want to know what they think is the thing. And a lot of them, it is leading by example. And like you were saying earlier, like having your teens check you, basically. Yeah. He mentioned that too. He's like, I want my kids to be able to come to me and just be like, okay, if we're talking about what Christ would do, then you should do that, you know? And I think that's really important. But leading by example is a general consensus. Like, you can talk it all you want, but you do need to walk it. Yeah. And that goes for anybody, not just parents, myself included. But for sure, that's good stuff. And another thing that I hope everyone is paying attention to throughout this whole conversation is y'all are using the word met, because the Lord will meet you wherever you are at. Yeah. And that's super important for whatever we're talking about. Yeah. So I love it. That's good stuff.
I love that. That's
good. Last little question. What are y'all reading right now? Let's get into that.
Okay. I want to be a better reader, so I'm working on this. Maggie's probably in the background laughing over here. I actually have an audiobook going right now, and it's Don't Look Back by Christine Kane, because I think the enemy is dangling a carrot in front of me right now, wanting to tempt me to fear some things, to hold back on some things, to people please, to, you know, just the little things that I've grown from. And like they keep kind of rising up, and I'm like, that's not who I want to be. Yeah. And so this Don't Look Back, I mean, she's so good. It's just in your face kind of a thing. And I need that. And so definitely that book right now. And then I'm always listening to a podcast. Yeah. So same. You got a good podcast for us?
Mine.
Yeah, absolutely. Spoken Roots. We're going to get to that.
Spoken Roots. Yes. Okay. I am actually very simply reading Proverbs right now. Okay. That is what I'm reading right now. I started several months ago, like, okay, I'm gonna start in Genesis and read to the end. I've never done that. I've usually stayed in the New Testament, read a little bit of Old Testament here and there, but a while back I was like, okay, I'm gonna start in Genesis and I'm gonna move forward. And so I actually stopped at 1 Samuel, and I don't know why, and went to Proverbs. And I guess the Lord maybe just needed me to be in Proverbs. And in fact, I just stuck at FCCLA, or at FCA Weekend of Champions, they gave us these cool little scripture laminated sheets with old hymns on them, and I grabbed one and I stuck it in my Bible. I just opened my Bible, stuck it in, didn't even pay attention. Well, I opened it to there the day after I finished Ruth, and that's where I started. That's where that happened to be, awesome. Was Proverbs. So cool. And so I was like, I'm just going to read Proverbs.
Yeah, which is so full of wisdom.
It is. It's been so cool. I sent you that text the other day, or that. What was that?
Read it. It's so good. Highlighted. Yeah, it's so good. I had never read that or paid attention to it.
I haven't ever paid attention to this, and I read this. It's 22. Is it 22:11? Yes, it's 22:11. Proverbs 22:11. It says, "One who loves a pure heart and who speaks with grace will have the king for a friend." And I'm like, ooh,
that's good.
Who doesn't want Jesus for a friend?
No kidding.
Like, so anyways, that's he is really, yes, it has just been a sweet read in Proverbs. I also have the Don't Look Back book by Christine Kane that I have started and haven't finished, but it's great. And there's another one that's like, careful what you say, or what you
the one Corey gave us. Well said.
And it's just about how powerful your tongue can be, especially like towards your husband and as a parent. And that's been really good too. So
I like it. I like it. Are y'all big readers in general? I mean, you kind of
working on it.
Okay.
Working on it. It really is a goal of mine.
It is a goal of mine too. I'm not a very good reader. No, I'm like, I mean, I can read.
That's good.
I don't have very good vocabulary apparently, but I can read. But I'm not good at finishing books, I guess you could say. Like I start them and I'm like, oh, this is so good. And then for some reason I don't pick them back up.
My thing is sitting down. I just don't sit down very well. And I'm working on that. I really am. That's been something that's a goal of mine this year, is just to learn to rest and chill.
Yeah.
And I think I worked myself up into a tizzy the last couple of years over lots of different things, and it physically wore me down. And so I really am trying to be intentional about like just balance and saying no and resting and going on walks. And so that's why I typically listen to a book or whatever when I'm on a walk. So it's in my ear and I can keep moving. And so anyways, but I'll take out a book to the swing on my back patio. I like that. And I set it right here, and I like that. Visit with people or get distracted and read one page here and there, and so it's a thing. I'm working on it.
Yeah. I love reading when I'm not in school. When I right now, like last year I kept track of all my books, and through July, August, like I was killing it. I was reading so many books, and then you can tell when I started my radiology stuff because just done to a halt because I just spend so much time in a textbook, and then my brain is just like scrambled eggs, and I just I don't want to. But I am a big reader when I'm not a student. Which that book I brought today, so Gospeller is amazing, and I just want to talk about it for everybody because it's by Willie Robertson. So Duck Dynasty. And I love Duck Dynasty, and I'm so excited that they're coming back with new season. Did y'all know that?
I did not know that.
Maggie's been watching them. She loves them.
So is Madeline. Yeah. Randomly, she started watching them.
I have rewatched that series several times.
Wait a minute, though. It's Jessica and Jep, though, right? Is that the series? Or is there
No,
literal
there's new,
Duck
like,
Dynasty?
Literal Duck Dynasty, like with Sadie and Bella and like all the new.
We haven't seen those. We've just started watching Jep and Jessica.
May. They announced that they were filming like a month ago, maybe, or something.
Okay. We had heard, and we thought we were watching them.
So Jep and Jessica's great, too.
Okay, that's exciting.
Yeah, they're coming out with, like, Duck Dynasty again, basically. Yes. And I'm a huge Robertson family fan. Like, I love Sadie. I love the Men's Podcast. I love what they did for TV because it's needed.
Yeah.
Like, that's a need. Anyway, I saw that he came out with this book, and he had talked about it on Sadie's podcast right after he wrote it or whatever. And I was like, I'll pick it up. That sounds interesting. And I would say that's one of the most impactful books I've ever read because, again, I think it's one of those things where the Lord was meeting me where I was at. Yeah. He knew I needed to hear that because I was at a point where it's like, okay, I know me, I know my faith, and I've made it my own, but now how do I share it with others?
Yeah.
And he talks a lot about that and basically saying, like, there's no excuse. You can say you're shy. You can, and he goes through all the things, and he's like, but there's still a reason to share the gospel.
Wow, that's cool.
And it's just.
And what's it called again?
Gospeller.
The Gospeller.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's so, so good. I recommend it to anybody because there's just no excuse. And he does a great job of breaking that down. And of course, they're so open and they have changed so many lives. So he has some really neat stories in there. But
that's cool.
Plug Willie Robertson if you see this. Like, I loved your book.
Love it.
I love that book. That's all I have.
Let's tag him and see if he sees
this
episode. I'm sure he's been watching Wildly Seen.
I bet he has.
In all his spare time. Okay, so for real though, I have got to say this about books and then we can move on. But I may not read them, but I love a book. I could go look at a bookstore, look at Mardell.
Are so much fun.
I love books and I want them and I want to read them. So that, mark my words, guys. Next time y'all chat with me, I'm going to be reading a book.
Yes.
not can't talk right now. Sorry guys, I got to be reading
my book. I was in book. I call it Books a Billion because I think that was a missed opportunity. Whoever named that store, it should have been Books a Billion. Like whatever. Anyway,
Bab.
Yes, I was in Books a Million, and I spent too much time walking around too because I was like, oh, I need this book and I need that, and I don't.
Yeah.
But I bought Mere Christianity
At
too.
At least you read them though.
That's true, I guess.
Yeah,
I buy them.
I buy them and then I
have
don't
y'all
finish
heard
them.
Of Mere Christianity?
Yeah.
Have you read that one?
I haven't read it.
I started that one too, and I downloaded Maury Smith's. I
downloaded
her
have
book.
hers on my shelf too. Okay, No, never mind. Okay. I was going to suggest another book that we got from one of our guests, Here Be Dragons.
Yeah.
But it's for like raising teen girls. So you're not quite there. One day you may have a teen girl.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
that's all I got. That was all my questions.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So hit me. I'm like, okay, if it's me, if in my podcast, I would tell my guests, I would be like, okay, what questions do you have for me? And it can be about literally anything. So
here's my question for you.
Okay.
Tell us, and it's not really a question, it's a statement.
Okay.
Tell us your journey in wanting to have a podcast. So pause for a moment because to give a backstory here, the reason you're taking over our podcast is because I happen to, I know what it was. One of our mutual friends, which I didn't even know you, one of our mutual friends ended up on an episode of yours. And I saw your podcast and I was like, Spoken Roots, that's so cool. And then you had a local person and I was like, that's so cool. I know them. And so I went back and listened to your first episode and it was really cool because we really have similar like ideas behind just wanting to share stories of faith and
like our
connect with
heart
people.
It.
And so anyways, I loved just who you were and how cool it was that you went out on a limb to do a podcast and how vulnerable it feels to do that. Like we know that feeling. And so I reached out to our mutual friend and just like got your background. Like, hey, who's this Destiny girl?
Legit?
What's she
up
to?
A freak or what?
I didn't go that route. But
knowing that person, she's probably like, she's a little weirdo.
No, I heard nothing but great things and just how cool and authentic you were. And so it was just like, hey, I'm going to reach out to her. So I probably was the crazy lady that was like calling saying, you don't know me, but I know you.
I was so about that. And I love that. Like, don't be afraid to reach out to people.
Yeah.
You know, you never know what
connection that can bring.
Yeah. So I love that. I remember I listened to your voicemail. I was walking to my car from the hospital and I was like, this girl is cool. Like
this girl's crazy.
No, I loved it. I was like, immediately call back. But so heart behind Spoken Roots. There's lots of, I can make this a really long story because there's lots of little facets to it. But whenever I got out of education, that was a huge, I guess, wilderness season for me because I was so scared to leave everything that I've ever known, I guess, because I grew up with parents that were teachers and coaches. I have grandparents in education, like truly being in public education is all I've ever known. So I was terrified to leave that. But I just wasn't happy and lots of prayer time was spent there. And the Lord was like, it's going to be okay. You can step out. It's going to be okay. There's a world outside of this. So when I made that decision, a part of that also was just working on myself and being in the Word. And I had lots of self-growth to do. And again, the Lord met me there and helped me a lot. And a part of that was I just felt like I needed to be more open about my faith. And I wasn't sure how I wanted to do that. And I remember telling my husband one day, I was like, I'm going to delete anything about me on the internet. And he was like, okay, why? I'm like, because I'm not doing anything good with it. And he was like, well, neither am I. Like,
yeah.
And I said, but I have a problem with that. Like, if I'm not going to be positive or a light in the world, then I just want to completely get off of social media. And he was like, okay, you're going through a thing.
Yeah, like I see where this is. Oh my gosh.
I kept thinking about it. And like I told you the other day, I thought about doing YouTube at one point because I don't know, I like talking, I like vlogs, whatever. And then I was like, what if I did a podcast? Because that's the media that I consume the most. I love listening to podcasts.
Yeah, me too.
I love watching them too. I love that y'all have video because that's awesome and that's a gold. But anyway, I kind of just ran with that. And I was terrified to tell my immediate family because their opinions matter the most to me, you know? And so I started with reaching out to friends who are not like they're friends, but they're not my immediate family.
Yeah.
And just like spitballing. And I was like, what if I start a podcast? And they were like, do it. Like, you talk all the time, do it. And you love having conversations, go for it, whatever. And then told my family, and they were pretty supportive too. And my husband, bless him, he was supportive, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it was kind of, he was more, like, I took his initial reaction as he didn't want me to do it. And then I got mad. But that's just me. Like, I'm so hard-headed.
Yeah.
Well, that's a strength and a weakness of mine. I was like, why do you not want me to do this? And he's like, it's not that I don't want you to do it, but I'm just trying to protect your heart. Like, I don't want you to dive off into this. And then what if something happens? He was like, I love you too much. I don't want you to get hurt or whatever. And I was like, but how are we going to know? Like, we got to try, right?
Well, it feels very vulnerable.
And it is so vulnerable. And I was very hesitant for the same reason of just like, no one really does this kind of thing here, you know? No one from Albany or Rotan or whatever. Like, it's just not typical. And a lot of people don't get it. They're like, oh, that's cool. I would never do that, but it's cool. Mm-hmm. But then once I got over that fear, it's been the best time, you know? And
you've like recorded conversations with, I mean, lots of great conversations, but with your granddaddy.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't got to listen yet, but I saw it out and I'm ready to listen.
And my conversations, sometimes they're not, like, y'all have really good messages and y'all focus on the faith part of it. And I love that. And sometimes I just end up talking about whatever with my guest. And there's nothing wrong with that either, you know?
It's just a different
the whole part is like, you don't have to be famous to have a good story. The miraculous is done in the mundane. So, like, let's just sit down with real people and talk about what's going on in their lives.
Yep, that's good.
And if it circles around to the Lord doing whatever in their life, I love it.
Yes.
And if they just want to talk about whatever, we can do that too.
Yep.
But I want to talk to the people who have impacted my roots. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, you're talking spoken roots. But that's kind of where that came from.
I love it. Well, once we connected, I wanted you to come on here because I wanted to encourage you in just being brave and being bold and doing something different. Yeah, so it's an honor to have you here. Oh, thank you for taking over the podcast.
Thank you. I hope I didn't tank it.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Great.
We actually had several guests ask us, like, we want to hear y'all's stories. And we've never really done that. We initially, like with our opening episode, we touched on some of that, but we really haven't been interviewed or anything. Mm-hmm. And so this was a fun way to get to do all of that in one.
It was great.
This was super fun. I want to give y'all like the Spoken Roots interview too. I want to take you on separately and
that would be awesome.
Give you that experience because I love what we are doing in the space. And it's cool to hear the stories that y'all have and the conversations that y'all have got to have with people. It's awesome.
Well, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you for
having me.
Doing what you do and being brave. And
y'all too.
I love it.
This is awesome.
Thanks for walking out your faith. Like you're walking out your faith. Like it's cool to see growth in a young woman.
It is.
And it's very encouraging. So keep doing it.
You act like you're old. You're not old. Neither are you.
That's debatable. We're getting there.
You should ask my body.
So we close out this episode with a little encouragement and with a prayer. So we're going to let Christina pray over you.
Okay. And then you're going to close us out.
And then I'll close us out.
Okay. God, thank you for this cool conversation. Thank you for who you are, where you've brought us, how you've met us, that you walk with us through all the journeys of life, Lord. Lord, we thank you for Destiny and just the cool host that she is, God, and we pray for just fruit in her life and fruit through her podcast as well, God. God, that you would just continue to reach all of our listeners in a way that draws them so near to you, God, that they see that you are real and that they just want a glimpse of what you have in store for them, God. We ask these things, God, and we love you so much for who you are. And we close out and ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, Destiny, here you go. Okay. It's eyes up on the Lord and his kingdom. Mind steady on the truth of his word and who you were called to be. And spirit stirring for the things that he has for you and your husband and your future family.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I was like, oh, this is so exciting. I love it. I love it.
Yes. We're so happy to have you today, and we can't wait for the next episode.